What's up everyone, Borne here. I'm the creator of the Fancy Pants Adventures, and first things first, Super Fancy Pants Adventures is out now on Steam and iOS. If you're into the game series, if you want to support what I'm doing, check that out on either platform. Android is coming next month, so don't worry, that's in Q&A, so we'll get that through. With the last game, I made a series of videos during game development about different design decisions and content I was working on. I never really got the chance to do that with Super Fancy Pants, so now that things have finally settled down a bit, I'd like to go back through different aspects of the game. So let's talk more about the combat in Super Fancy Pants Adventure and kind of my thoughts on combat and game design in general. I've always tried to make the combat in the Fancy Pants Adventure series unique in some way. In the last game, the combat just clashed too much with the sense of movement that the rest of the game was about. I mean, there was literally rooms in the pirate ship where you did combat. It was just too removed from the core of the game. With Super Fancy Pants Adventures, I focused on supporting that core. The combat was rebuilt that the player could go between moving and fighting much more smoothly. More generally, I feel like there's three main types of combat. First, and the most common nowadays, is what I call the ya method, based on how my kids play Fancy Pants. Games like God of War, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, it's about mashing the button, and the difficulty comes from knowing when to block or evade. So really you're just choosing when to mash attack and when not to. The second is much more old school. I think the best example would be old Castlevania games, where you have to make sure that every hit really matters. The difficulty comes from using the movement of the game to avoid attacks, and then getting in your own attack whenever you can. I'd consider the Dark Souls series the best example nowadays, but they still use blocks, so it's a bit more of a hybrid. And the third example, yeah, I gotta complain about something. Let's call this the "oh, that's nice" method. In-game QuickTime events are the most obvious example, but nowadays, games like The Last of Us are moving towards having the player want to do an attack, and then the game sort of just doing it for them. You go from the player doing something really awesome to the character doing something really awesome. And I think there's a really big distinction that you have to make there. For Super Fancy Pants Adventures, I wanted to try something unique and mix the first two styles, depending on what kind of attacks the player's doing, obviously, but then also if they can keep up a combo, Fancy Pants Man will start doing medium attacks, which are good for pushing hordes of bad guys away. This rewards the player for basically not missing, and is intended to give the combat a sort of rhythm game feel, where you're timing your attacks based on the enemies coming at you. Of course, I don't know if this is actually really obvious when playing the game, but I tend to throw in a lot more features than are actually used so that you can play around and play the game in many different ways. You can break out of a combo faster after hitting an enemy, and jumping will break out a few frames even faster. I guess I was thinking players could use the jump like a dodge, but I don't know, maybe that'll be something for the next game. Last but not least, let's go through a few tips. First, don't be afraid to abuse the heavy swing. Especially if you start charging in the air, you can land next to a group of enemies and take them all out. And it'll knock the larger enemies away from you. And once you get the ink shot, use that a lot. You'll refill your ink meter whenever you attack any of the inky enemies, so you don't need to be stingy with it. Anyway, that's it for now. Let me know if there's anything else about game design or specifically the Fancy Pants Adventures. Hope to have another video up much sooner than usual. And of course, one more time, Super Fancy Pants Adventure is up on Steam and iOS. We'll be out for Android next month. And blah blah blah, like, subscribe, do all those things. I don't know, I'm not a real YouTuber. I'll leave all the links down there in the description because I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Bye guys.
I take your treat, Daddy.
Where's my treat?
I didn't know.
What?
No.
Where's Daddy's treat?